Sack was not the son of God at all, but he says again and again in the Bible he was the son of man. Actually, his mission was to warn us against God, a laser-armed computer robot space station sent to regulate or destroy humanity. Our very own Dr. Van Mojo finally got rid of Yahweh uh, by Yahweh 1 or YHVH, I'm guessing is Yahweh, um, by sticking hat pins in a tether ball. But that's another story. As for the devil, that is somebody our religion tried to do without for a long time. We didn't think we needed the devil, especially with Eris Discordia reputation being what it is already. But religions without devils are like politicians without enemies or perpetual motion machines. If they are possible, they might just work. But who will ever know? Our devil came through the back door after introducing himself as Mr. Grayface. You will read about the curse of Grayface. After blaming the first few evils on him, we realized how handy he was and gave him a lifelong membership before we determined his true identity. What really fooled us is that his face is gray, and that's far from being his only resemblance to J.R. Bob Dobbs, the subgenius messiah of mediocrity. But then so many gray flanneled American males look like Bob. That is hardly evidence of conspiracy. One difference, Grayface never smiles except when he is showing how stupid you are. Bob always smiles except when he is showing how stupid you are. For that reason, the subgeni call Grayface the anti-Bob. But in both churches, seers and sages know he is the devil. No matter whether he calls himself Grayface or the anti-Bob, he acts like the devil because his most famous line is, "Let me organize it for you." But no doubt you are also curious about Eris. Where does she hang out these days? Now that Olympus has gone tourist, Eris Discordia is in limbo, where we all virtuous pagans and our gods and goddesses go between lifetimes. Think of Key West in the off season, and you've got it. Imagine an open air bar about 10 in the morning, an aging barefoot Greek beauty with an Art Garfunkel hairdo is giving Zeus the bartender a hard time with the barbed wit that always leaves him bereft of any retort besides the extended middle finger. Another attraction of Limbo is a nonstop party for the faithful, but Zeus has child support bills, and Eris never much of a party animal, contrary to popular belief. Nor will you find any subgenie at that party or anywhere else in Limbo. With bikers and Nazis, if we were good Nazis, skinheads and pillars of the Church of Subgenius would go to Valhalla. What? Bad people of every persuasion go to the region of Thud, a sprawling astral subdivision where there is nothing to do but eat and watch television, and where all the houses, yards, and people look pretty much alike. Thud keeps up with the Joneses. Most Christians are there, but in their creed, it is also called paradise. Only souls who, in the eyes of Eris, went out of their way to be a pain in the ass during their earthly sojourns are in hell. Harry J. Aslinger qualifies, but still, the perils of hell are exaggerated. Fire and brimstone are sources of heating during cold snaps, but our human rights group Amnesty, that's spelled wrong. Yeah, amnesty, like nasty, interfactional reports that nothing in hell is any worse than the hideous shade of pink on its walls. There are such things as nirvana, an exclusive resort for extinguished Zen masters, and happy hunting grounds where traditional American braves and warriors are the forest rangers, dead cops and Gurdjieffians who forgot to remember themselves go to um looking at this add a Q&A on there. Uh, Go to the moon, a big precinct stationed in the sky controlled by space aliens where there are twice as many laws as here, converted to its present use from what originally a slain space monster's hollow titanium skill. You can only be asking yourself at this point how these guys could possibly be taking all this stuff seriously. If we weren't serious, do you really think we would have published so many tracts and pamphlets at our own expense for so many years? Do people who are not serious stay awake nights thinking of new theologies and scriptures? Who but serious fanatics would have risked their lives by exposing their work to their readership of our mass circulation publisher Lumpanics? Let me answer by asking what being serious has to do with believing what we write. But that isn't to say we don't at least believe in Goddess, even if we are skeptical of what she says. But now that is now, but that is now. After more than 3 decades of Discordianism, no way did we think there was an Eris Discordia at first. But Greg says, at first I thought I was effing around with Eris. Now I see Eris is effing around with me. A Discordian must believe that Eris Discordia rules the material universe and that she won it from God in a divorce suit during the before life, and that the French anarchist Pierre Joseph Proudhon and her attorney at the trial that nobody in her profit and that eating hot dog buns is a sin. All else is a matter of individual conscience. Graven images and icons and pictures of Eris are all right as long as they are flattering. Safe sex with a condom, rubber gloves, and a wet suit is fine as long as you don't fall in love. You may covet your neighbor's ass, providing your neighbor into it. You may drink, but not as to escape problems. Like Multifarians, the subgenius church, you may only drink to create problems. There is no prohibition against prayer, which is not to say we think it is a wise activity. You don't have to believe in Aristotic avatars to be a Discordian, but it helps. Aristotic avatars are sent down into reality, the only Rorschach for the purpose keeping things from becoming so well ordered that they stop working. This they often accomplish by insisting that certain arbitrary interpretations of reality are the only valid ones. That causes strife, which results in confusion, which revitalizes holy chaos. Most aristic avatars display certain signs by which they can be certified, such as employment of civil servants. So far, the successful Eristic avatar has been Confucius. Eristic avatars can be ascertained by the fact that they are always ignorant of their mission and have no idea they are serving Eris. For that matter, they are even promoting confusion. That is made possible by the law of eristic escalation, of which you must be innocent to serve an eristic avatar. For an unknown reason, it does not work as well for those who of us who are guilty of it. This law pertains to any arbitrary or coercive imposition of order. It is imposition of order, escalation of chaos. Fenderson's amendment adds that the tighter the order in question is maintained, the longer the consequent chaos takes to escalate, but the more it does when it does. Armed the law, armed with the law, heuristic escalation in Fenderson's amendment, any imbecile, not just a sociologist, can understand politics. So I will translate into lingua franca of the Western world. An imposition of order creates a chaos deficit, which compounds until it is paid off by enduring all the outstanding chaos. Of course, Eris thinks all chaos is outstanding, but we mortals find too much of a good thing a little overwhelming. Thus, we cringe when we encounter an aneurysm, a pronouncement that is which is innocent of the law of heuristic escalation. If you hear that outlawing prostitution will eradicate rape, you are listening to an aneurysm, a manifestation of aneuristic delusion. If you read the second Chow on pages 49 to 50, instead of skipping over it in the recommended way, you will comprehend animistic metaphorics of aneuristics. An aneurysm nearly always enters the world through the mouth of a politician, but it can come by way of any authority, such as a minister, a teacher, or a parent, or boss, or Ronald McDonald. We need more laws with stiffer penalties to rid our community of drugs, says an innocent pawn of Eris. To be sure, these laws make smuggling and selling and buying drugs more risky. That in turn drives up their prices, thus making them more profitable. So more money and work goes into expanding the market for contraband, in keeping with the law of heuristic escalation. Or as the Taoist sage Chuangzi simply said, the more laws there are, the more crime there is. Identification and elucidation of aneurysms is a favorite pastime of politically conscious Discordians who note that the whole text of my epistle to the paranoids on page 69 is a psychological aneurysm. Paranoid myself. A conspiracy helped her. As of this writing, I am still paranoid, according to my friends. Or are they my enemies? Proliferation of crime in the wake of multiplication of laws is more than a matter of expanded definition. Governments are impositions of order designed to discourage theft and killing, but they wind up taking more in taxes than all the freelance crooks around could steal. Their wars involve more killing than all the meanest toughs and hoodlums can hope to rival. Laws were unknown to the true people of old, says Chuangzi. All during the Paleolithic and Neolithic, there could hardly have been any laws because the cave paintings of France and Spain depict no battle scenes. We know that in the time of Moses, many laws did not seem necessary or desirable because the second time he came down from Mount Sinai, he said, "The good news is I got him down to 10. The bad news is that one of them is still thou shalt not commit adultery." In limbo, there are only 5 laws. No making anybody do anything they don't want, except mind their own business. No shitting or pissing in the streets. No spitting on the floors. No undated notices on the bulletin board. No eating of hot dog buns. No, that sounds like a program that will work for me because there is nothing in there against swiping jokes. Nearly all of the graphics in the Principia Discordia, by the way, were ripped off. I don't know why, because Greg and I are both plausible artists. The Discordian Society does not condone plagiarism. Our rates for ills are quite reasonable. Discordians hold only our unoriginality in contempt. Our familiarity with Discordian themes, this unsurpassable is unsurpassable. Henceforth, no Discordian shall rip off graphics, contact me, Greg, or the heuristic artistic needs. All I can say in our defense is at least we were honest about it. As we reached the end of the third edition, Greg pasted in a little blurb, credited the graphics to Rip Off Press, which he sniped out of something that was actually printed by Rip Off Press. How's that for a rip off? You will also notice an unusual number of unusual rubber stampings scattered throughout among the following pages. That was Greg showing off his rubber stamp collection. Few hobbies are as psychologically gratifying, especially when some bureaucrat is making you wait. So we're gonna put a picture, as I say, making you wait, with his or her back to you for a moment as collection of rubber stamps. Create highlight, green screen, stickers, effects. Few hobbies are psychologically gratifying, especially some bureaucratic, making you add a collection of rubber stamps. This is also an exciting way to recoup some of your tax losses, but you must abide by the laws of the Rubber Stamp Congress. All Discordians are permitted to collect rubber stamps provided they don't mention the Discordian Society. If they are caught, just point out to them that among people of all faiths, stamp collecting is a popular hobby, and tell them your religious preference is none of their business. Tell them that collecting stamps in the name of nameless religion is your constitutional right, and then to make your point, take the Fifth Amendment. They will find themselves in a legalistic quandary. On most occasions, mentioning your Discordian Society affiliation is perfectly acceptable. If perchance you are an idiotic enough to somehow foolishly blunder and end up in the military, insist they stamp Discordian on your dag tags. Because we are sick and tired of hearing there are no Discordians in foxholes. You might also wish to list Discordian as your religion on job applications, especially if you are already on unemployment and don't want the damn jobs anyhow. A secret method of identifying your Discordianship for the benefit of other Discordians is by wearing a pull-off aluminum beer can tab strung through its ring around your neck. That is called an all-seeing eye of Eris complete with tear, and it will help other members of the Discordian Society keep out of your way. Or if you aren't an extrovert and are not even ashamed of it, you can get up on a soapbox and rant for goddess right out in public. Personally, I prefer standing in a wooden box, but anyway, you get at least 5 points every rant you deliver. Extra points are awarded for handling hecklers with aplomb or with anything else besides your fist. A secret of dealing with hecklers, incidentally, was impaired to me by a professional rabble rouser who used to speak in Hyde Park. You memorize a bunch of standardized put downs, good for all occasions. So no matter what your tormentor says, you can fire back with something like hot air makes a balloon go up. Oh, that's such a good one. What's holding you down? Hot air makes a balloon go up. What's holding you down?